From a little cover, I got my dreams in sight. Wrestling on the mat, I go and put up a fight. With every hold and slam, I rise to the peak. Now as Professor Bear, it's my strength that they see. Roaring with knowledge like a lion so proud. In this wrestling world, I'm standing out loud. I'm Professor Bear, got the passion to spare. Wrestling's my life, with the power to share. From the roots to ropes, in the spotlight we gleam. Chasing victory dreams, living out the theme. Now my WOSN, my squad.
Yeah. Hey, new beginnings on the cusp. Not too old to adjust. Old dog, new tricks. Remember, I was just a pup. Something dirty in my cup. Clean soul.
With my forest crew, we'll always ride. In the wrestling world, one just claim the prize.
Welcome, and thank you for joining me this beautiful day. I am Professor Bear, and this is a Bear's Thought. Guys, girls, we have came down to the final day of Promotion Appreciation Month, and it's been a wild and crazy ride. We've had some great conversations to learn more about being an owner, a booker, a promoter, to learn what they go through to give us the entertainment that we love, and we can forget about our problems for a few hours. I had this company, I have to tell you, this company, we have went over a lot of different things to make this happen, and I feel like it would not been this wouldn't be complete without talking to them. We've made sure that we were going to get this in one way or the other. So I would like to introduce Sean, and he is the owner of Monster Pro Wrestling in Canada. Sean, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm great, Professor Bear, and I just want to say thanks so much for having me on your show, because this is far-reaching for us. Tennessee's a ways away from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So
yes,
and
sir.
I'm
Yes,
guessing
sir.
the weather's a little nicer. It's minus 15 up here.
Woo! Oh my goodness! And crazy enough, we're in this. I think we hit the 60s today.
Oh, I'm so
it's
jealous.
Crazy.
Jealous.
But before we dive into it, what I always love to do is to let people see the company's logo. When you go look up companies, the one thing about wrestling, as big and all worldwide encompassing that it is, unfortunately, names are so similar, or hell, even the exact same name. So
yep.
I don't want you to be confused when you go look up this company. So if you see that logo, you know you have got the right company. And plus, another thing I like to do, because I am an old man, no lie, and I try to make things easier, especially for these younger kids who don't want to do research. They want everything given to them. I'm going to help you out. I have put up the QR code that will take you directly to their YouTube page so you can see and experience what Monster Pro Wrestling is all about. Now, with that being said, this is a question I ask all my guests, Sean. How did you become a wrestling fan?
Oh, that's a story that takes me back to 6 years old. My grandfather and I used to watch wrestling on TV, and up in Canada back in our day, we had Stampede Wrestling, which was, went to 44 countries, and that's where the Hart family, the British Bulldogs, Bad News Allen, some of the greatest wrestlers literally of all time, came out of that territory. So my first glimpse at an actual show, I was 6 years old, and I got taken to a show by my grandfather in Regina. We lied to my grandma and told her we were going fishing. She didn't like the wrestling and the violence. So my grandpa, he told her we're going fishing, and we did go fishing, but we went and watched wrestling as well. We drove all the way to Regina, which would have been 2 hours from the small town that we lived in. And the main event that night was Dynamite Kid and Bad News Allen. And I had an interaction with Bad News Allen. He called me a yellow-bellied sharecropper, and he went to smack me. And my uncle stood in the way. He had a cane, and he was ready to beat the crap out of him. And next thing you know, Dynamite flew through the ropes. So for like that, as the first time I've ever watched wrestling, I thought I impacted the show. So like as a mark, I told everybody, I helped Dynamite in the match, and I kept going to shows. And in high school. When I was in high school in Canada, we built our own little ring, and we had like a little show in the auditorium. We had no idea, not trained, nothing. We're just beating the crap out of each other with no padding. We just had tables, and we're beating the crap out of each other on these tables that we'd fortified. We built our own ring, ropes and stuff. You couldn't run them, but I mean, ever since I was a kid, I just the bigness of pro wrestling, just the larger than life personas, and just it had me. So then I was 24 years old. It would have been 1994, and a guy was touring through Canada and doing these things called mini camps, and his name was Mr. Hito, and he did this little camp, and 20 of us went, and we just all got together, and we decided this guy was going to buy a ring, and we were going to kick in $50 a month to rent the place, and we started training ourselves, if you could believe that. And then I got a break and got on a show with a very, very well-known man up here named Leo Burke, who at the time was training for WWE, and he invited me to his camp at Bret Hart's house. So then my career, as soon as I got trained properly, my career just took off. So that's my story.
So wait a minute, and again, you trained at Bret Hart's home?
At his house, yeah, not even the dungeon. Bret's house had a house in Dalhousie back in the day, and he had an old WWE ring set up in there, and Vince was paying Leo Burke, I think it was $500 a week to train guys. So the first guy was Andrew Martin, that he became Test, but Ken Shamrock, Mark Henry, Teddy Hart, and a host of a bunch of the rest of us. That, of course, this all happened in '97 when Bret had his falling out. So then a lot of us, including myself, got on a WCW developmental and got tryouts there, and then obviously it pretty much folded. But we got to meet Paul Orndorff, Kevin Nash, all those guys. So it was a great journey. And then after that, I reached out to WWE, but Kevin Kelly was the guy at the time, and Bret and Vince had shoot heat, and Kevin told me that Vince wants nothing to do with anybody that has anything to do with Bret Hart. So I was kind of, my heart was broken, and my dreams, were, I don't want to say shattered, but it takes a knock out of you when you think you're at that level and that you should be able to get there, and you don't even get a chance. So for me, that was tough, but I just made the best of it I could. And I'd go out to the Maritimes, where Leo was from, every summer and wrestle out there. And then there were promotions like TCW, Tony Condello Wrestling. If you don't know who Condello is, he's promoted for 50 years. And he's the guy that does the Death Tour that I was just on. There's been documentaries made of it. You literally drive on frozen ice and frozen roads that don't exist in the summer to get to these places that don't get anything. And you go there, and all these indigenous communities come out, and by 200, 300, 400, come out to see something because they don't get anything. And then on top of that, we go and talk to the kids and try to give them a good message. So And that's how I made my living. And also I train people. Monster Pro Wrestling as a school. We've been established in 2002. So for over 20 years, we've been putting out wrestlers and had a product. We were on national wide TV once when we had a community channel here, but that it went right across Canada. And then it got bought out by Chum Media. So they didn't like the violence. they killed our show. But then we got on Shaw Cable, which was a local company, and then it folded. And now we're just doing the YouTube thing.
Wow, that's amazing. It's amazing how blessed you were to get to meet so many different guys and get into the business. And even if everything you've told me, for me, just to be able to go to Brett's home,
oh yeah,
that is just a crazy thing. And some of the legends that you've met and talked to, and funny enough, you mentioned Kevin Kelly. I just last night talked to the company that Kevin Kelly works for now, and I find how wrestling always is a journey, and you run across similar people. I mean, people that know each other.
Oh yeah,
that had interaction. It's such an amazing thing.
Yeah, it's a circle. You literally, we all know the same people or met the same people. Or it's funny because I Chris Jericho, who's a huge name, obviously everybody knows him. I always end up in a territory right after him. And I mean, I've been on shows with Lance Storm and, Chichi Cruz and Edge and Christian, Jay and Adam. I've been on shows with all those guys. Don Callis was the booker for Tony when I first started. So, but I've never, ever been on a show with Jericho. So the last, in 2023, we did a documentary called The Death Tour documentary. And it ended up in the Slam Dance in Utah. We ended up showing it there and stuff. So we all kind of met together. And it just, the circle completed. I got to meet him and hang out with him and, pick his ear. And then he hooked me up with an AEW shot, a dark match, which was really cool because I've never wrestled in front of that many people before. So, as my journey's ending, it was a kind of a cool cap, I guess, on it.
That is very, very cool. So let's because generally I go from how you became a fan to how you got in the wrestling business, but you already have brought that through, which is great. How did you decide you were going to start a promotion?
You know what? I just wanted to run a school. So I was doing the Maritimes in the summer, and then I moved to Edmonton, which was kind of central. There's a company in Winnipeg, that's Tony Condello. There's a company out of Calgary, called Can-Am, and they run a lot of shows. And I knew a ton of people in Edmonton, and I always liked it there. So I ended up relocating myself to Edmonton, and that's where I've made my home now for 20 some years. And I wanted to be close kind of to the promotions, and then in the summer fly out to the Maritimes. So I started a school in MP called Monster Pro Wrestling. That was all it was going to be. And we ended up doing a local thing on Shaw Cable. And within days, it just went, they didn't have viral because it was Shaw Cable, but my phone got flooded. And I had all these kids from 14 to 16 years old that wanted to wrestle. And I'm talking 20, 30, 40, 50 kids messaging me. So I had to kind of develop a program, and we called it the under 18 division, where I had their parents had to sign a waiver. Their parents could come and watch what we do, but we just taught them basic wrestling, which I really find now, in the 8 minutes of TV, you're trying to get your spots in. You forgot about wrestling and, reversals and psychology of that kind of stuff. So especially here in Canada, I got a heavy dose of that. Leo was very, very, you start by wrestling. That's why we're called pro wrestlers, and a lot of, you see the companies saying, they're not even, wrestling's not even in their name. We're this entertainment.
Yeah, exactly.
It is entertainment, but I mean, ultimately we're supposed to be pro wrestlers. So I always had that very heavy dose of wrestling, and then psychology. I was lucky enough to be on the road and live with a guy named Phil LaFawn, who wrestled in Japan as Danny Crawford, the Can-Am Express, 11-time world tag champions for Baba in All Japan Pro Wrestling. He was in WWE. They were tag champs in ECW. That guy had so much psychology and his work. He was one of the trainers in Japan. Like, people go there to get trained. He was one of the instructors. That's how good he was. So, as soon as we all moved back here and I got my stuff going, I invited him to come down to teach, and we had a great, thing. He's in his 60s now and retired for many years, but you get that solid psychology and the false finishes and the really making the fans sit on the edge of their seats, right? That's really, I was, like you said, blessed to have guys like Leo Burke and Phil in my life and teach me that. Chichi Cruz was Chris Jericho's tag partner back in the day when Chris was breaking in, and he ended up in a boat accident that almost took his arm. So it took him a year to recover, and that's the year that Jericho exploded and went to Japan and Mexico, Puerto Rico, and I believe eventually WCW. And Cheech kind of got left behind. Cheech ended up working for Lawler in Memphis for years under Bobby Bolton, and just another amazing guy that I learned so much from. That and he told me the same thing. I was blessed. This guy taught me, and I got to go here and I got to go there, and just the names behind him too. So the word blessed is I use it every day. I was blessed to find this business, which, got me out of trouble. I wasn't always the greatest guy, and I was, I found drugs and alcohol early in my life. In 2009, I sobered up, but the journey to get there and the things I've done and the people I hung out with and all the rest of it, as you well know, it's not good when that's in your life. So when I found wrestling, I found a way to get out of trouble. And then I finally found a way to get sober as well. So I really believe wrestling saved my life.
It is amazing. Again, just listening to you and then how things come together. I'm trying to think of Dan Crawford's tag team partner name.
Doug Furness.
Doug Furness. Doug started here in Knoxville.
I did not know that.
He was from the University of Tennessee.
That's right.
The Fullers
played football too.
Yes. The Fullers gave him an opportunity, and he came into wrestling. Yes, he's a big local name here. And
he could hit drop kicks like no other man for a guy his size.
Exactly. His size, his drop kick was one of the most I rated in the top 10 of drop kicks ever.
100%. For that guy's size, top 5. I also used to do a back handspring.
Yeah.
Charge you into a tackle. And I was just like, wow, that for a guy that size, come on. Incredible.
And with Jericho, him and Lance Storm came down here and was the thrill seekers in Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
For sure.
I remember when Jericho broke his arm right before a show, and he wrestled with a cast. He couldn't even, but he wrestled.
As Canadians, we're built different.
I tell you, again, it is such an amazing thing how big the world is, but really how small it is with the connections. And I'm sitting here just blown. I'm like, oh my God, I wonder if he know. Wow.
Crazy. Yeah, the people that we both know, the circle is just so small.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, your goal was to just train, but you got into doing in the business. What was your goal as far as when you say, okay, we're going to be a promotion? What was your initial goals to do for the business?
You're going to laugh because I have no clue how to book or promote or any of this, but I have 30 kids in my camp and they're all telling me we have to have a show. We have to just try one. And I'm just like, okay, I know some guys from Calgary that are really good. I've got all these young under 18 kids. So I don't know if you're familiar with, he's a little controversial, but a rap guy by the name of Tom McDonald out of California.
Yes,
he was one of my first students. I have pictures of him when he was 14 years old. And this kid was just an amazing athlete, like got into my ring and did a backflip, the first thing he did. And we were all looking at each other because that was the first time we'd ever even seen it. All the kids that I'd have, like, you know, that's a moonsault's a big move. This kid went to the second rope and did a backflip and landed on his feet. And I had all the rest of my poor under 18 kids there just looking at me. So he wrestled here as all-star Tom McDonald for some years. And then,
wow.
yeah, and that was my first group of under 18 kids, and they did great. So they kind of all talked me into it. Listen, coach, we're going to sell tickets. We're going to do this. So I found a venue. I rented a venue. I got the insurance to run a show. You had to have a permit. Back then we had a commission here that, you know, everything had to run through them. So it was all, you know, legal and everything. We had to get a business license. It was a lot of work just to have a show. And the first show, we did it at a bar, but we got the owners to allow the kids in, just performance waivers that they wouldn't drink, they would just perform. So
right.
we had an under 18 match at a bar called the Rum Jungle in West Edmonton Mall, and we had about 200 people. So then, like I said, after that, I rented a venue, and it became monthly, and everybody would sell tickets. And eventually we came up with a plan. Hey, if you're going to sell tickets, you get a piece of that. You get a little bit of money for doing ring crew, but if you sell tickets, that's where you're going to make your money, because you get a percentage of it, right? So everybody's like, yeah, that's great. So, you know, guys are selling 10 tickets, making, you know, 75 to $100 plus a little bit of money for ring crew. Well, that, for an independent show, if you're making more than $40, you're doing pretty damn good. So
yes, definitely.
And I've had guys sell 20, 30 tickets that are walking home with hundreds of dollars, but they put the work in, right? So,
right.
And then you get the odd kid that they don't even try. And that's where you kind of know that if they're not even going to try, part of the business isn't just, it's not just showing up to the venue and having a match and then putting your hand out. There's so much more: advertising the matches, cutting promos, helping sell tickets, helping with the bloody ring. So many people have it in their head that, well, I shouldn't have to do the ring. I've wrestled 5 matches now or whatever, right? Or 500 matches. I'm in my probably 2,000, 2,500 matches, and I still help with the ring because it's part of the deal. It's part of the deal of an independent wrestler is set up and tear down. And a lot of guys get it in their heads that, no, I'm not going to do it. I don't have to do it. And that's, you know, superstar syndrome. Sure, if you're in WWE, they have a ring crew for your AEW or some of these places do. They hire their own ring crew, but
right.
takes the work out of the boys, right? So part of it as an independent wrestling wrestler is there's more than just showing up to the venue and doing your show and holding your hand out. Hey, look what I did. I had a match. Give me money. You know, if you're not a draw, you could take any of those guys off a show and we still draw the same people. Then obviously it's the show that draws, not you. So
exactly.
And we've been blessed for the last, I don't know how many years, we get a minimum of 200 people to every show. Our big shows have 300, and we're monthly. And there's 4 or 5 other promotions in this town, and they don't do that regularly. Some of them do, but they bring in big names. So if you're going to bring in a big name, for sure you're going to get them. I very rarely do that. I have some friends in the business, Dan the Beast Severn, you know, and we're really good friends. So I brought him in for some shows. We brought in Wayne Ferris, and I don't know if he drew us any people, but a good guy to have in the dressing room, honky tonk man, you know, and then the odd time you'd bring in a guy here and there. So I was blessed in my first few tours of the Maritimes to be on shows with Bobby Roode, Joe Legend, and guys like that. So I've been on lots of shows with, you know, real seasoned guys too. Joe Legend is another guy who moved to Germany, but he was just Joe in the WWE. They didn't really use him very much, but he got paid for hanging around basically. And, you know, he learned a lot. Sin Bodhi, who was Kazarni, they didn't really like the gimmick, but another Canadian kid that moved to Vegas, and he, you know, thrives. He has his own promotion there now, and it's they do really weird and different things, but it draws. So, you know, it just shows that it's anybody can do it, really, even guys like me. So gotta have a hand though. But that's the promoting. I still today a lot, like I have a kid that does, you know, our graphic stuff, and I have a guy that does our YouTube stuff. And because to be honest, that's just not my thing. I train guys, I book all the shows now. I've taken a lot of good advice, and I understand how to book for the next show. And I think that's what, when you're a monthly promotion, that's the hard part is
Yeah.
anybody can have a spot show and put a great show together. Can you put a show together that's going to draw for the next time? And what about next time? Are you going to be able to draw the next time? So I've got a bunch of guys that buy into the system. I don't know if you're familiar, but we have a 4-step match, which is very simple. So you never get lost. And I have like 20 kids in my camp right now again. And after COVID, we were barely able to have matches because so many people were scared to come out and
Right.
you know, and even try to put people in a venue. Yeah, we can put 3 people here, but then 8 feet apart, you can put another 3. And then, you know, how do you fill a venue and how do you get people interested? But I think during lockdown, I think everybody just had enough of it. And after lockdown, when they took all the restrictions off, we really flourished. And I think people really like what we do. Our promotion's very inclusive. If you look, we have the Carnival of Chaos. And if you just look at them, you can tell they're different. And I don't mean just different, you know, regularly. They have, you know, some issues, physical issues, mental issues, but they love wrestling. And as long as they can bump and their parents are good with them, you know, showing them what they can do, these kids are going viral. They cut a promo. And like, I've been doing this 30 years. I'm in the Canadian Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. If I get 5 or 10,000 views, I think I've reinvented, you know, the wheel. These kids are getting 250,000 views on their promos because they're just different, you know, and that's what I love about the business. You just never know. Any gimmick could hit, you know, the funny bone or you just get into it. And it's so funny because we have Bonkers the Clown, we have Jerry the Jester, and Prankster Pete. And everybody loves Bonkers, but they hate the other 2. Like, what a dynamic. Like, you just don't. So, you know, I've told Jerry, get on that, man. They don't like you, so bully him. So that's the dynamic. He's always bitching at him. You lost the match. No, I didn't. And they argue, and 250,000 views.
I love it because one of the things, let's go back a little bit to what you're talking about, setting up rings and guys feel like they don't have to when they get a certain level.
Yep.
You cannot tell me that you don't have to do something when Jimmy Hart is known worldwide. Jimmy will come and this is even today. Jimmy, no matter what promotion he works for, he comes in, he helps set up chairs, he helps put up the ring after the show, he helps break down, he cleans up whatever you need, Jimmy does. And Jimmy is a effing legend.
And he's not a young man, you know, exactly. That just proves to everybody it doesn't matter.
You cannot tell me your little 3 fans, you don't have to set up a ring. If you don't get your butt up there and help set that ring.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, I fell victim to being one of those guys too early in my career, but I watched guys walk on me. And then I realized, you know, I'm yelling at guys to do stuff that I should be doing too. And then when I learned that, I think I found I got a lot more respect. That's called being a leader, you know.
Yes.
You get in there and you get your hands dirty with the guys. And I'm not young anymore, and I've had crazy injuries, and I have an ankle that's fused together that I have to take shots in my ankle for all the time. So it's just a walk and not have pain. So I get it, and my guys respect the hell out of that. They know for sure that I'm not doing, you know, I'm not physically 100%, but I'm still in there. I go to war every night. Maybe I got to wrestle 2 matches that night. You never know, but I'm still in there helping tear down and all the rest of it. And then, you know, I really learned how to politic and promote and try to get people involved and have family friendly shows, because kids are so important to this business. So if you're just swearing all the time, you're not going to get kids or families that are going to come to this. You'll get the odd one, but we want to get all of them. And that's where, you know, I've learned a lot about the promoting game and how to draw people and how to You know, we do little things. We have a birthday package, and if you come and you bring 15 of your friends, you get tickets for regular price, but you get a section reserved, and then the birthday person gets to have a wrestling entrance with lighting and through the curtain and introduced. It's such a different concept, but we sell a birthday package every show because every kid wants to put on some sunglasses and call themselves Reina the Destroyer and come out and get the crowd just to cheer or sing happy birthday. And you watch the parents, you know, and their proud faces. And now we're getting the adults want them. Adults want to come in and have a birthday party at Monster Pro Wrestling. So it's kind of cool that, you know, we've adapted throughout the ages, and we've tried different things, and some things work and some things don't. So you just, you know, you're always trying something different though.
Well, and it shows in your longevity that you're easily to try different things, and you're not stuck in one thing. And you have to be in wrestling, you have to be able to be fluent. You have to be willing to change, willing to adapt, understand. Hey, the fans are not liking this. It was good in the beginning. This is old, so we're going to have to move away from that. Oh, well, this is picking up steam. Let's try this. Hey, that don't sound good, but we're going to give it a shot for this first one to see what happens. If you want to if you want to last any time in business, you have to be fluent.
100%
change.
So, and the one thing another thing, obviously, we start with wrestling, and that's really heavily favored. Like, that's when you train with us, 5 days of training, you know, three and a half of them are chain wrestling, reversals, pinfalls, just the beginning of the match. But the other thing, and this is the secret to wrestling, guys. So I hope if anybody is watching this, I have the secret to wrestling. If you want to be successful in wrestling, make a connection with the crowd. That's the secret. If they don't give a crap what you're doing, whether you're a heel or a face, you could cut someone's head off and they will not react. But if you've got them from beginning to end, you can flub up spots. They don't care. You've got that connection with them, and you can do no wrong as the baby face or as the heel. They'll boo you no matter what. But if you don't have that, you're already lost. And so many people are so worried about getting all their crap in. I got to get my moves in. I got to do this. I got to do that. I'm already asleep. I'm going for popcorn.
Again, it's the psychology. If you cannot tell a story, get out the business.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not trying to be mean. And look, no. I have never wrestled a day in my life. So again, I'm on the outside looking in. So I don't want to insult anybody who's put in the time and effort. But as a fan of damn near 50 years, I think I know a little about the business.
Yeah, I mean, a fan is going to tell you if you're any good or not. Anyways, your favorite wrestlers, you know, like I'm not really current, but like the last time I really watched it heavily was in the days of The Rock and Stone Cold, and they captured my attention because of their charisma. I gave a crap because they just had so much, you know, and even the early days of AEW, I really enjoyed what they did with Jericho. Watching Bryan Danielson wrestle Kenny Omega. Are you kidding me? I've had Omega stayed in my house. Omega was 18 years old out of Winnipeg. And I would always bring guys in from Winnipeg. And Kenny was just this, at 18 years old, already had this look and charisma about him. And just such a genuine person. When I saw him at AEW, he gave me a big hug. He introduced me to a bunch of guys, told, hey, man, this guy looked after me when I was like breaking in. Like humble. Like, where's that gone?
Right. Very, I can't disagree with you at all. Something that I've learned, and again, being blessed to be in the business somewhat, is everyone I have talked to and met, I think they would tell you, oh, you meet Professor Burr, that's a humble guy. He knows what he's talking about, but he's not arrogant. He's very he's very polite. He knows. Sometimes you have to force him to
Oh
do
yeah.
something and let him know it's okay, because he's that type of reserved of, no, this is, I don't want to step on any toes. I don't
Yeah.
want to insult anyone,
That's
because
the politics right there of trying to please everybody. And I try to, but sometimes you
you,
just got to call a spade and just say,
it,
you know what, this guy's
exactly.
garbage.
Well, and but that's the thing about it too. And for me, I would tell you what I think, and but again, I try to give people what they give me. If you're polite to me, I'm polite to you. If I'm getting my first time meet you, I'm gonna be very respectful. Now, if you give me energy where you're not respectful, well, I can be the biggest asshole on the
For
planet.
sure. Well, we
But
could sit here and bury guys all day long, but that's not what
exactly,
this isn't what it's about. It's about putting
it's
over the guys that put in the time and the effort and really the humble guys too that are still doing it and trying to do it. And I respect all of those guys. So there's guys I don't care for, but you know what? There'll always be the respect that, hey man, this guy's a good worker, or this guy's outside of the business is a good guy.
right.
Maybe not the greatest in the ring, but humble, good guy. You always got to find the good. But that's the politics of wrestling too. Is you got to today. It's about kindness. It's more about I don't want to say blowing smoke up people's asses, but let's just find the good. There's I critique my guys by telling them I think we need to work on this instead of saying that was garbage. So again, that's the learning and adapting and learning how to train better and learning how to get a better response from the guys that I'm working with instead of just saying. And then some guys I just got to tell them, no, don't do that.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's the way you approach people, because everybody doesn't respond the same to criticism.
For
So
sure.
you have to find how they're going to get the message without having to think you can use the same template every
Yeah.
time.
And I'm a humble guy too, but when you show somebody 5 times and they're still doing the same thing, it gets frustrating. And I bet you every one of my guys will tell you, oh yeah, coaches yelled at me. Yeah, well, my coach never just yelled at me. He used to get in the ring and stretch me if I was screwing up. So, but Leo is great. I'll never ever say a bad thing about him. He really, Leo Burke is so underrated. I
Yes,
got
he
the
is.
opportunity to meet Harley Race through Leo in 2009 at the Cauliflower Alley Club. They were honoring the Cormier family, which was Leo's family, who did a lot in the Maritimes, and they got an award for the family. So he invited me, and I went, and then I was, he ribbed me. Leo would always rib me. I'd always brag, yeah, Leo trained me as a baby face or as a heel before a baby face. And he'd tell people, yeah, it's because he's too ugly to be a baby face. Just rib me in front of everybody. So, but that was Leo. That was part of his charm.
Right.
So I told Leo I wanted to meet Harley Race. We're at this thing. I said, hey, I know you're going to sit down at the bar here for a while, but I want to go meet. There's somebody I want to meet. And he's like, hang on. I kind of hung out with him. I was his handler for the weekend. So then he takes me up to the I can't remember what it's called, but the room where you get all you go in and register and all that, and they have all the pictures and the people selling stuff. And there's Harley in the corner signing autographs. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I can hop in line here. Leo just heads to the front of the line, and Harley sees him, and it's Leo, Harley, and what is going on? So Leo never even told me about, that he'd wrestled Harley hundreds of times. And Dory Sr. Had them down in Texas, and they do 1 hour time limit matches. And Leo was 1 vote away from being the NWA world champ. He never told me any of that stuff. It was before me. So that's humility. And that's where my coach, he taught me all these things, not because, for his, anything to do with him. He wanted to make me a better worker. It had nothing to do with him. He didn't even tell me his career. I would have been sitting there drinking beer and bragging. Because, man, and then just the people, I saw a match with him and Nick Bockwinkel, and I'm just like, what? How come I've never seen this before? So just insane when you realize, some of the the things that he's done, and then just humble. And I wish I could be a quarter as that humble. I'm definitely not.
I got a chance to meet Harley Race's son his son and his widow, and the one thing immediately, I was on a friend's podcast. I was in the back room and he was doing their interview and stuff. And afterwards, I got a chance to talk to him. And one of the first things I made sure to tell them was thank you. And I know they were like, what? And I'm like, I want to thank you. I said, because of your sacrifices, of sacrificing your father from times that he could have been with you and you could have been with his wife. He was out here giving strangers a great time.
Yeah.
And I said, that is something that we as fans don't really appreciate. I said, I do. And I want to thank you. I know y'all missed a lot of time with him, but thank you for not being selfish, because it gave so many people great times and such an amazing history that we cherish now, and think of all the people that he touched and helped mold so the wrestling industry could be where it is today. So thank you. Y'all deserve that more than anybody else.
It's so true. Leo, when he took his award, won his award, his comment was his only regret is he didn't spend more time with his family. And that really hit home for me, because I don't have any kids. I'm really lucky that way, but I'm gone all the time, and I have dogs, and we just have all things. The last death tour, on the very last day, somebody threw a puppy out of a vehicle, like a little tiny 6-week-old puppy. And she's here now. We brought her home.
Jesus.
Couldn't handle it. I am such a softie for dogs and kids too. When, as a bad guy, which I was most of my career, I'm usually getting stuff thrown at me. But when I'm the good guy, I have such a soft spot for kids. I want to invite them in the ring and just let them play and just have them have fun. Because, man, that's our next generation, and life is so hard right now that, like you said, an hour or two to just escape life and have fun and live in an alternate, reality for that time. I really respect that, and I really hope that that's what we give back. And beyond that, we have an amazing facility here. We've partnered up with Kamikaze Punishment, which is a martial arts and boxing gym. Mm-hmm. And they built us a ring, a 14-foot ring. So now the guys, you have to work towards the middle of this ring. But when you get in a big ring, it makes such a big difference, because now these guys work towards the middle of it. And I love that. But the owner has put up lights above the ring, so we can literally darken out the whole place and put ring lights on and have dark matches, which all these guys, maybe 10 or 15 people there. We invite like hockey teams and football teams, but 10, 15 people. But these guys learn the business, and you don't have to get in front of a whole whack of people. So again, being blessed and letting these guys learn the business the right way, and having these dark matches. And then we have a viewing area where we can go and watch the match after and just say, hey, this was good. This is good. You got to work on this. You got to work on this. That's so important today in the school to have that. So we're really blessed to have probably one of the best training facilities. It's got weights. It's got a promo room where it's all curtained off, and we have our own ring lights, or like our own promo lights, and then the ring with lights above it. So at night you darken up everything out. All you see is the ring and what's in it. So it's really cool.
That is so amazing. And and I know you're going to appreciate this. Once I got into the business, the thing that kept going in through my mind is leave the business better than I found it. That is a true, to my heart, is what it is. And that's why I love talking to wrestling, not just the wrestlers. I love talking to the referees. I love talking to commentary team. I love talking to managers, valets. I love talking to cameramen. I love, if you're a part of the business, I want to hear your story. I want you to be able to tell your story and let people know there is so much in wrestling. I call wrestling the biggest team sport ever, because you can have the two greatest wrestlers ever in the ring, but it will not mean nothing if you don't have a great referee, if you don't have a
Oh
great
yeah.
cameraman, you don't
Yeah.
have a great uh, commentary team. It's a team sport that doesn't get recognized as a team sport.
100%. And that's what a lot of guys, unfortunately, with egos and all the bullshit that comes with the business, there's a lot of guys that just aren't team players. They're the guys
Yeah.
that show up and and promoters book the guys too, which is it's on them. These guys got to be willing to play ball and stuff too, and sit in your locker room and give back to the young people instead of just sitting in a corner by themselves. So my locker room, I put my tables in a horseshoe and we all sit together, and I have a little meeting right before the matches, and just I always pick out one or two guys. Hey man, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have this. So thank you, and thank you. This month I have to thank. I was gone for 3 weeks, so I have to thank the kids that came in and trained for me while I was gone, and kept the wheel rolling, because we still got a show in in a week from today. Actually, next Friday is our next show. So, but all the guys are already ready for matches, because the whole time I was gone, everybody was working on their stuff and training and improving. And that's, like you said, it's a team. I can't do it all by myself, and I'd like to think I got the greatest team on earth, man, because man, every show, you never know. I was like, well, we didn't sell that many tickets. 200 people. What? Oh, we got to bring out extra chairs. What?
And again, for me, I love letting people know what they mean, because a lot of times people don't get to hear that. And then there's some people who don't want to hear. It's like it's that fine, great, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not about me. But for me, I think everyone needs to hear how they positively affect the sport that we love, because no matter what, you play a part. Even if you don't know, it could be the most minuscule part ever, but it means something because you're giving back to the business.
100%.
And I had to
100%.
learn, because when I got into this, I was like, well, I don't matter. This matters. They're doing this, and I had to have people tell me, yes, you do. You play a part that you don't even understand.
Yeah.
You get people that may not have ever watched wrestling, that watch your show. Now they're interested.
Yeah.
You promote indie wrestling, where someone who never even knew there was indie wrestling, because of you, knows indie wrestling and love indie wrestling. So it took me a while. It goes back to being just humble and understanding. No matter what, I try not to be arrogant. Now I joke around and
you have to,
but I definitely look to make the business better. Again, my whole philosophy is, when I'm gone, I hope and pray that my kids are watching wrestling and thinking about great granddad and how crazy he was and how much he loved it. I sit and think at times about me and my father, how up to when he passed away. One of the last conversations we had, we were talking and I was telling him stuff. And one thing he asked me, he's like, boy, how'd that wrestling go the other night? And we could talk about that. And that's that love and passion that I want people to have, and discover that when I thought it was just me, no, it's everybody that has that. And I just want to keep it going. And again, give people a chance to, like you said,
a platform.
Exactly. And
we need more of it. We need more of it. That's why nobody ever refuses to come on your show we all need you. We all need you to do
well,
this so that we
surprisingly
can
enough,
get our product out there. Really.
surprisingly enough, I've had some people not want to come on, but you know what? That's fine. Again, I'm opportunity. I'm given opportunity, and I always try to let people understand this. The opportunity is not just for me; it's for you. I'm trying to do something that we both can
For sure.
enjoy, get both our names out there, get bigger. And even if I stay where I'm at, I'm more than happy because I make a difference. I have fans,
Yeah.
which still blows my mind. I find it out that my podcast is getting listened to around the world,
That's
which
just
blows
amazing.
my mind.
But that's because you're opening up around the world now too. It'll just get bigger and bigger because you've had people from Finland and some of these places. That's just amazing, and I love that. That's the business. You're meeting people from all over the world that share the love of wrestling with you, and that's kind of our message too. Is all my guys, sure, you might have a special need or or a physical. I have a guy literally who is legally blind and deaf. His name is Max Mayhem. And you'll see that his promos are a little different, a little off, but he loves wrestling. And we've taught him, through squeezing and a different way of communicating, how to work. And he's actually pretty good, but he loves wrestling and he's watched it all his life. And we'll sit and talk to each other. When I say talk, I mean yell, because he's deaf. And even in his hearing aid, you got to speak very, very loud and clear. So there's no calling in a ring with this guy. You cannot call a spot, because you'd have to have a bloody megaphone in his ear. You can't hear. So it's all through squeezes and stuff like that. And yes, he screws up spots, but I taught him how to, hey, don't worry about it. Just keep going. Don't worry about anything. And it's crazy because he'll tell me, he goes, man, I couldn't hear anything. The crowd was so loud that he hears noise, but he couldn't even hear the ring bumping because of the crowd. That's success. I told him that means you did your job, buddy.
Exactly.
You did really good. He can't wrestle outside because he cannot see outside because of the sun. So we can't have him on outdoor shows. But, come and manage, come and do something. You're always welcome because it's inclusive. And the other thing, you're talking about giving back. When I sobered up, I realized that, a lot of kids don't know about drugs and alcohol. They don't know that you got to be careful with some of this stuff. So I started speaking at schools, and I've developed a program now called Fight for Life, where we go to schools and we talk about, following your dreams, education and stuff for the little kids, but the older ones, drugs and alcohol, mental health, bullying, all of those messages. Because coming from us, it's not a teacher, it's not your parent, it's not someone telling you what to do. It's us sharing our experiences and just saying, there's a better life for you out there, and it would work better if you acted this way, say instead of that way. Or, if you see somebody being bullied, you have to talk to somebody. We're big proponents of the Kids Help Phone. We have a Kids Help Phone here. So we give that away all of the time because talking, helps so much. So
yes. And I love hearing that. It is, again, it's giving and being showing you care,
giving back to the people that make us. All
exactly.
These kids that come to the shows and the parents that bring us, let's leave them with something really positive, not just the show. Let's give them a good message too, and who knows, maybe you reach one person, because I do these talks all the time. Then you did your job. So I hope we reach more than that, but that's the goal, man. Reach one person, make a difference in one person's life.
That is amazing. So if you had a chance to get in the ring and perform, wrestle anybody, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Well, I would have to say Harley would be the first on my list because as far as I'm concerned, he was the greatest heel of all time. Watching him and getting to pick his brain about how he got heat and just the little advice he gave me, it's such little things, but it's huge when it's all said and done. The fact that in his first 5 minutes of the match, you got to make the people believe that the face is going to beat you if you're a heel. You've got to get them that's how you get them to believe in the baby face. But then when you cut him off, you got to bring, for 30 seconds, you got to take him within an inch of his life. Like things like that are things that'll stick in my mind. So Harley would be number one. I never got to wrestle Kenny. I don't think I'd ever be on his level anymore. My body's all beaten and beaten up. But Kenny's just been such a great person. I would have liked to really wrestle him in my heyday because, man, he can just do everything. And, being the AEW champion, and he's really, I think, one of the guys carrying that company. I'd have to put him on that list as well. And then, again, a guy I didn't really get to, I was on a lot of shows with them, but one of the guys that taught me so many things and helped me so many times was Bad News Allen. He was such a good heel, and he was honest with me. And he would tell me, hey, kid, don't do this, or hey, kid, do this. But he was just, he gave me great advice in the business, and watching him wrestle, he commanded respect. Like you were going to listen to him, and you're going to have the match he wanted to have. He would have been a guy, that I would have really liked to share the ring with, not just the road.
One thing I love about Bad News was very early on, as a Black person, you don't have a lot, especially then, you didn't have a lot of representation.
Nope.
He made me feel like a superhero. It was like, man, look at even the few matches he got with Hogan.
Yeah.
I was like, he could beat him. He could beat him
easily.
And then getting to watch some of his shoot interviews and things, the understanding how well he understood the business and did things and seemed to be such a genuine person was amazing.
He was great. I have my best Bad News imitation, because I asked him, hey, Bad News, what do you think about this guy? Let me tell you about that guy. What a piece of work that motherfucker was. He would just go off and tell stories. And I miss that about him. Sorry about the swear. I hope I didn't complete that. But I'm not a real big swear. But News was just genuine. And he told me a story about Dynamite. So back in the day, they never ever smartened anybody up to the business was a work. So there was a guy named Ed Whalen, and he was the announcer, and he was trying to get News deported. So he goes, that crazy Dynamite come up to me, goes, hey, News, I want you to run me over with a car. I was like, you trying to get me deported? Like, he was passionate about it. He's like, this guy came up with these crazy ideas, Dynamite. Hey, I've got suspended twice, and if I get suspended 3 times, they'll deport me. So run me over with a car. And I just love those stories, and just love the fact how much he loved Dynamite, and how much Dynamite never got a lot of respect, because I think honestly, in the back rooms, he wasn't really good to people. He cut up guys' gear. He did some mean things to people as ribs, but I mean, I think some of the ribs are maybe just taken a bit too far. My opinion, right? That anybody can have that. As far as I'm concerned, he's on my Mount Rushmore. He's probably the greatest wrestler that ever lived today or yesterday. I guess I'd have to put him on my list too, but I don't know. I would just be catching him because, man, he could go like there was no other. And News really put him over and really said he understood selling, and he understood how to get the feud over. And I don't ever remember going to a match of Bad News and Dynamite that wasn't sold out. Like everybody, 1,000 people would be crammed in that arena to see it. So I really think he understood the business. I think Dynamite was his that perfect match, that perfect antagonist for him to wrestle. Right. That's what I remember in my early days. I remember Hercules Ayala and Leo and the Hearts. I remember all of them, but I remember that feud. And that's something. When you remember who was wrestling and finishes, and you remember that stuff. You were into that. So
yes, definitely. I still, even to this day, I still have a working VCR. I have VCR tapes of wrestling where I recorded. And sometimes, like, I can't remember exactly where I was, and me and the wrestler were talking. I said, "You want to learn how to get a feud over and make it great?" I said, "Go watch Tully Blanchard Magnum TA from start to
Yeah.
finish. You will learn how to work." And I said, even after Magnum TA had the tragic car accident,
Yeah.
he came back and he got involved where it was so jaw dropping
Yeah.
and where it was so realistic
Like a
that,
movie, just like a
yeah.
movie, sucks you
And
in, and
I
you
was
got to
like,
see what's going to happen next.
man, and Tully Blanchard hit him. And then Dusty Rose came out with grabbed the baseball bat and was choking him. He hit the commissioner, he hit the owner of the company.
Yeah.
And I was like, that just drew you in.
It's real.
I can still remember where I was as a kid sitting
It's
there.
real.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But just if you can get emotion, that's the thing. You want to get emotion from the crowd, good or bad.
That's it.
It.
That's it, man. Motion from the crowd, good or bad. That's the secret to pro wrestling, that so many guys think it's by doing a moonsault or by doing these crazy sequences that they see on TV. Well, first of all, if you see it on TV, those guys are well known. So that's how they get away with getting, everybody knows their character. They know if they're, as soon as the music hits, if he's good or bad. In independent wrestling, I teach my guys this every time. Every time you go out, treat it like it's the first time these people have ever seen you. Because even our shows, we get a lot of different people that come to each and every show. We don't just get the same 200 people. There's always different people coming to our shows, and it's always the same thing. Oh, I can't wait to go back. We suck them in, but we suck them in with a show, not a wrestler. There's the Carnival of Chaos, and we've got the Pirate Party, and we've got the Savages, where these just unruly, brutal, vicious, huge heels that are they just take over the promotion. But then we got the baby faces. We got this new kid named Thunder Bear, who's an indigenous 300-pound kid that's really coming into his own. Massive Damage, who's seen the light finally, and he's coming back, and he's gonna fight these Savages. And former professional bodybuilding Ronan, who's just a statue of a man. So we've got a feud now. We've got something that people are going to want to come see. Then underneath, we got the Wild Boys and our provincial champion and some of the smaller guys like the Misfit and Captain Bones from the Pirate Party and all these characters and stuff. And it's so much. You can't help but be entertained.
Man, I want to thank you for not just coming on my show, but for everything you have done for the business, what you are doing, and what you are going to do for the future. You make wrestling safe. And when I say safe, it's that it's going to keep going.
It's in good hands. It's in good hands.
You're teaching the kids the right way. And I say this, the art is not being lost, because if you're not training and teaching the kids how the proper way and getting them to look and understand the art of wrestling, it can be lost. So I'm so glad to know there are people out there that truly believe in teaching and making the art form live. So again, I'm a big opponent of letting people know that they matter and giving them their flowers, because a lot of times people never get to hear it until after they're gone. Yeah. And that's such a sad thing. So I'd like to give it to people who've earned it and need to hear it. And I appreciate everything you're doing for the business. And thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me. And you're a great host, and continued success. And let's keep in touch.
Definitely will. You have an open invitation. If you some of your guys need to get some podcasting training, sure. Send them my way.
I will.
Our company, we got like 5 or 6 different podcasts, and we love to get up and comers and helping them grow. So definitely
I'll send some guys your way, and thank you again for the opportunity to let everybody know what we're about.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Guys, girls, thank you so very much for joining me around the campfire for another amazing story. Again, you need to put in the time to learn because there's a lot of things that easily can change. And a lot of times we as people, we take for granted the blessings that we have and don't necessarily try to pass it on. I'm a firm believer in trying to keep things alive. You learn stuff from your parents, your grandparents, pass it on to the next generation. No matter how it changes, the world change, it needs to be grounded and needs to have that education. So please do that. And as I always do before I leave my show, please, please, please go support your local independent promotion. There are so many guys and girls out there who are busting their butt to put on shows, to entertain us, to try to get to another level. Go be supportive of that. And again, with the indies, you can have such an amazing time that the majors can't give you. It's something I definitely promise you. And
Definitely.
you can go into the event and come out the event with money. I know that's a crazy concept in this day and age, but you can go. You can go. You can get reasonable price tickets. You can go get reasonably priced concession. You can get reasonably priced
all of it and get it signed.
Yeah. So just go and do that. Support them. And again, do your research because again, I have to be clear on this. Somebody told me this and they were 100% right. Not all promotions are great promotion, but do your research.
Yes, sir.
Do your research. And then once you do it, you find something that satisfies you, be supportive.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you, they appreciate everything that you give to them as much as everything you're going to appreciate of what they give you. So with that being said, I'm Professor Bear. This has been a Bear's Thought, and we'll catch you around the campfire very, very soon.
Thanks for having me.
Here.